after year where a person's loneliness, a person's grieving process is so heightened because there is such a big contrast, right, between like, oh, happiness and sharing and being with family, and people without these things will really, really feel it.
I was running and I face planted. I was just going downhill on the trail, just at a speed. But when you're kind of free falling, you're in that space, and
Yeah,
like it takes forever, but it's so quick. And
yeah.
you're in that free fall, and you go, oh no, bang! And then I just sort of laid there, and I thought, okay, anything broken? And because I was at quite a force, and thankfully it was like a sandy surface and not somewhere else where it was a bit rocky and whatnot. Anyway, I was in so much pain. I got up and I thought, okay, I can breathe, nothing's broken. And I was with a friend of mine. Anyway, and it just got worse and worse. And I thought, oh my God. Anyway, by Thursday, it was 11 out of 10, and I started to take Nurofen. It was the best thing I ever did. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. And it was just getting worse. And but it was still really bad. Anyway, I went for scans yesterday, and I've got a fracture of the seventh rib, which explains all under here and all around the back. And it feels like it's right under into my armpit. And you
Oh,
need like flexion or extension or anything like that. It was just like, anyway. The main thing is that I just wanted to make sure I didn't have any any puncture.
well, so do they wrap it up, or like
No, they don't do that anymore. Well, I looked for at the start if it was broken. I thought, look, there's something I could do. I knew it wasn't a muscular strain, right? And
yeah,
I thought, okay, if it's broken, there's nothing they can do. The thought of it strapping felt, really good because it just sort of relieved the pain. But they apparently it prohibits the lung expansion, and
yeah,
obviously worst case scenario, pneumonia could set in. But
yeah.
it was even hurting to expand. Now I know why, because it's right down the bottom. I wondered why my lat was just so sore, and it was pretty much where the bra strap would sort of
Yeah.
sit behind. And
Oh,
anyway, I
oh my
I
God.
tell you what, there's a lot to be said because a lot of us women are really tough, right? We're like, yep, we're very resilient. We can do
Yeah,
that. But it's really hard to listen to know, okay, when do I need to step in and actually
yeah,
be responsible? Because there's that fine line of like
yeah,
riding it out and making a
yeah,
wise decision. So I had to put my trainer's hat on and, go, okay, what
yeah,
would I say to a client?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I
But
think I think women have this very high threshold for pain as well, right?
yeah,
It's like, okay, I'm just going to
yeah, absolutely. And
carry
you just go,
on.
yeah, we'll be right. We'll just take some Panadol if needed.
It's such a relevant topic for us at midlife because when you were younger, you can go through the pain and you bounce back, right? You'll be fine. But as you get older, I think the need to like step back and say, okay, I cannot just be gung ho about it and go all the way, right? It's much more, so much more important to be
Yeah.
able to step back and say, okay, I cannot just push this through.
And when you know that you can't, like you just can't, and even like I haven't been able to do any of my workouts because I just can't. I can barely show a client a certain
Yeah,
move,
yeah,
and it's amazing. Like anything, you don't know how many times you use your thumb until you cut it.
yeah,
So there's lots of things like that. So you don't realize just how important, certain areas of your body, function every day. Not that we take it for granted, but it's highlighted.
yeah, yeah, most
But
certainly.
yeah, it's a real lesson because it's, when you physically can't do something and you just have to surrender because you just can't.
Yeah.
You can kick and stomp your feet and do all this. Yes, I was so frustrated. You ask anyone around me, but it was like, I can do that, but I know I can't. And I'm kind of like gritting my teeth and crying at the same time.
Oh,
But yeah,
oh,
it's just, you
okay.
couldn't do anything. You just had to surrender.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line of between being headstrong and learning to listen to your body.
Yeah. And asking for help.
Yeah, I can do it myself with help.
Yeah. So is
Yeah.
it a hot Christmas for you?
Oh, it's always hot. Not as hot as Singapore. Whenever I say hot, I think, and compared to Shamala, no.
But okay, so in general, your weather is you don't really get the four seasons, do you?
No,
Huh?
no, not generally, no. It's 30
Okay.
degrees. We kind of sit around that temperature now. If
Okay.
anything, the humidity, and then we'll get the rain because of the humidity buildup. But, it's more of that tropical downpour. Nothing like Singapore, though, but
Okay.
it's
Okay.
nothing like the southern states here either, where you can be, hot one day and then
Mm,
freezing cold the next. So
mm.
yeah, it's pretty standard here now. So it'll be pretty much like that till about February, March. So how's your week been?
It feels like a long time this past 2 weeks. It feels
Yeah,
like so much has happened. So I launched my new program, the emotional mastery program.
yep.
Um, it's still in the works. I'm still working on the next higher levels of the program. And then I started December with a surprise birthday lunch. I thought it was just, just a catch-up lunch. And then as it turns out, it was a birthday lunch. I said, wow, it's kind of early. Say, no, you start celebrating from the beginning of the month.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay. And then tonight I have another birthday celebration.
Oh, good. I love it.
So yeah, so I guess it's a month of celebration. So yeah, I'll go with it.
Yeah, that's what you want. Yeah,
Yeah,
keep
so
those
it's
celebrations coming.
yeah, so I've been for a long time now, I haven't been feeling like the Christmas spirit. Christmas has always felt like well, I guess ever since my divorce, right? With my daughter. It you know, I mean, with my daughter, it's just two of us, and then, going over to my parents, I guess we kind of lost it for a bit, like, the sense of like festivities and all of that. And then last year was gonna look better, but then my mom was in a hospital, so we celebrated Christmas at Starbucks at the hospital with my mom. Um, but somehow this year something has shifted, right? I'm beginning to feel the Christmas vibes. I'm beginning to feel like, even though my daughter is not here, right? I'm like, oh, it feels kind of different. There is a certain lightness to things. There is a certain element of joy, even that I'm feeling, and really, and I'm not so annoyed by the Christmas songs at the mall. It something has shifted. So it's been feeling, a lot brighter and lighter, which I like. And so, yeah, I bought a tiny Christmas tree, attempted to decorate it, but the cats.
Oh, I love
So
it.
now it's a naked tree which I have to place at the top of the cupboard. I'm not sure what to do with it. So I see you got your tree. Your tree looks lovely.
Oh, thank you. And it's interesting you should say all that because and I know what this podcast is about, families and this time of the year
Yeah.
and at this stage in our life because it's so different to, a lot of people. And it's not just about feeling the Christmas spirit, it's what's happening around you at the same
Yeah.
time. And, post-divorce, like it's a really difficult time because it's always a memory of what you used to have and all the little things that you used to treasure. And when you don't have that, it's hard to create different memories, because you've always got those measurable ones. And it was interesting. Um, this Christmas tree I bought before my children were born, and
Ah,
it's you can either set it up as 9 foot or 11 foot
oh,
tree,
wow.
and it's at nine, but it's cut down a bit. I could show you, but it's too hard to fit in. The star just sits on the top, and I've always wanted to grow up, have my kids to grow up with a big Christmas tree because that's what I did. But little did I know at the time, what I thought was big was 6 foot. And then so years and years ago, the only two times like the department stores were on sale was mid-year and Boxing Day.
Yeah.
There was none of this other stuff, right? So you
Yeah.
had to wait. So I went down on Boxing Day with 1,000 of others and, bought all the Christmas trees and I bought that half price. Do you know that was 27 years ago?
Wow.
And like the tree looks just as beautiful as what it did. I mean, I've just collected the
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
in really good condition. A box was made for it, but it hadn't been put up for about 7 years because, the same thing. Like I wasn't really sort of feeling, Christmassy. I've got a smaller one. It will do. Couldn't be bothered getting the things out. When the kids were at home, they were in their late teens. They sort of like saw it as a drag to, oh, we've got to put the tree up. It takes so long. And I thought, God, it was really hard because you get really, you get upset because you want them to be a part of
Yeah.
it, create that
Yeah.
atmosphere that they used to have when they were little. And it's hard because you're the one that's creating this vibe all the time, but yet
Yeah.
you're not feeling it. So empty, and I didn't want it to be looking back on a reflection all the time of, what I used to have and what times were like. And you're
Yeah.
kind of in that limbo land because you don't have grandchildren. And I'm not, I will enjoy grandchildren when the time comes, but I don't want to wish my life away at the moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as it turns out, my partner's daughter and her two young children are coming over from Wales on Monday. I don't think they've had Australian Christmas. They've always been in the UK. But the daughters are 8 and 13. They've never been to Australia before. And I was tempted to get the little one out because it's driftwood and being on a beach, and I could sort of do that Australian sort of theme rather than the traditional snowy theme.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
considering that we don't have snow here that time of the year. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll get it out. So my partner helped me get it out, and he'd not seen it up. And we saw it up, and he goes, oh my God, I can see how much it means to you. Like, it's amazing. Anyway, that's a bit of the backstory. I was telling my daughter, I said, oh, it took us a while to get, the Christmas tree up because, of my rib. And she was thinking the other one. And she said, oh, Mum, I was listening. I was watching these TikToks. She'll kill me for saying this, but she said, I was watching these TikToks. And she said, and it was really funny because, when you go around to your parents' place and it's like, oh, yes, let's get the Christmas tree up. And they want you to put it up. And it's like, she said, this thing's 30 years old and the decorations are faded and the tree's half dead. And I said, oh, well, yeah, I've got my Christmas tree. And she said, oh, the big, big one. And I said, yeah. And I could see and feel her excitement. And I said, but don't worry, because it looks just as good as what it did. And I
Yeah.
said, how old are you? 26. I said, so it's 27 years old. I said, I put it up 25 years ago and it looks just as good as day
Wow.
one. And it's
Wow.
amazing to see that how such a tree has created this atmosphere, this
Yeah.
image.
Yeah.
And like you look at it, I've put the little lights on, although you can't really see it, but it looks just so magical.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's the first time in a while that I've experienced that Christmas buzz. And, to me, Christmas is about, sharing with others and,
Mm.
coming together. And it's not about Christmas Day and
Yeah.
presents, it's
Yeah.
about what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Making the
And
connections. Yeah.
yeah, and it's hard because it's always been reminded me of the family that I didn't have because I always felt so alone. Even though
Mm.
family's around, it's not the same,
Yeah.
and it's really difficult. And I know my father absolutely hated Christmas when I was growing up because he was divorced from my mother such a young age, and he always used to say it was a reminder of the family that he lost.
Yeah.
And it was really hard because as a child growing up, when I used to go down and see him on school holidays, I'd be so excited. I'd saved all my money to give him a present, and he was like a Scrooge. He was like,
Yeah.
I'll open it later. He was just so hurt all the time. And like next day he was fine, but I could actually totally relate to that,
Yeah.
later on. And as I got older with my own family and those dynamics changing, because I never became a Scrooge, but I just couldn't get that same excitement because I'd lost my family.
Christmas, it's family, it's love, People talk about that. The festive is about sharing. But I also feel that it's a time of the year where a person's loneliness, a person's grieving process is so heightened
Mm,
because there is such a big contrast, right? Between like, oh, happiness and sharing and being with family, and people without these things will really, really feel it, and
mm.
For some years in the past, right, I got really busy during Christmas time where I had more clients during the Christmas season than off season.
Mm,
Because of depression, because of people feeling really down and they really needed someone to talk to. And so I would, during the Christmas season, I'm open for bookings, during that period. And I feel that because people do need help during that time,
mm,
and help is not readily available as well because many people are taking off and all of that. So it is quite, the huge contrast, right? It just makes it harder for a lot of people to deal with it. And, with our own personal experiences, right? Like when I first divorced, right? My ex and I made it like, we would take turns to have Christmas with our daughter, right? And so what I really wanted for her is to experience Christmas with her cousins. And so, because in my side of the family, we don't have little children, right? My niece and nephew, they're all grown up. And so alternate years, like she would go to the UK for Christmas. And then, I see her photos and I see that she's really happy. So, that made me happy. But then at the same time, she's not here with me, right? And
mm.
so then it got like, oh, like it's just I mean, every family has their own level of dysfunction, but in my family, the dysfunction really shows up. It's just like people just meeting and eating and then just going. It's nothing special because there are no young kids anymore. So it's just, and yeah, but somehow I feel this year feels a little bit different. I don't know
Mm.
why, I don't know what, and so I'm looking forward to it, making the best of it, I guess. And so my daughter's not here this year. She'll be back only on New Year's Eve. So at least I get to spend that with her. Yeah, there's just something about festive seasons that heightens stuff that seems dark, right?
Yeah.
Because there's
Yep.
this well, I remember when I was very, very young still, on the path of personal development and growth, and I would walk, okay. In Singapore, we have this street, this in the city, Orchard Road, and that's where all the Christmas lights are up. And during the festive season, lots of people, they're shopping, they are taking photos. And I remember almost every Christmas, I would walk to watch the Christmas lights by myself. And what I would do is it's like I don't know, like a meditation walk, just to observe, just to watch people, just to watch the lights, just to see what's going on, what other people are doing. And for me, that was quite enjoyable. Being by myself, walking down, watching everyone, just absorbing and soaking in the Christmas atmosphere. Maybe I'll do it again this year. So,
Yeah. I think it's important. I think it's what it means to you rather than what you don't have.
yeah.
It's hard to keep that magic alive when your life has changed so much
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that emptiness that you feel.
Yeah.
And like you said, the comparisons, I used to feel like I was ready for a family, but I didn't have a family, because one thing with divorce, when the children were younger, we lived in the same town. So it was not a big deal. Like one person would have them Christmas Eve and the other person like till lunch, and then you would drop over. I personally used to love the Christmas Eve because we always used to go for ride around and watch all the we'd go and get McDonald's ice cream because that was the only ice cream thing that was available at the time. And then we'll just go one of the soft cones and we'll just go and drive around and watch the Christmas lights.
Yeah.
And now when the kids get older, it was like, oh yes, let's call into and they still like to do that. And it's funny, but you go through a different time. And it wasn't until when I moved interstate and the children were away, I'll never forgot that first Christmas without them because I was away from them for 2 weeks and it broke my heart. And this would have
Yeah.
been probably about 6 years on, I'd say, 5 or 6 years on. And So what I did, rather than focus on the actual day, we made it and we picked a date and we said, this is going to be our Christmas day. And I
Yeah.
think it was, I don't know, the 19th of December or whatever it was. Now we tend to hire a boat and like a barbecue boat, and we'll go out, and because my kids are old enough now to try and steer all that themselves.
Yeah.
We'd make a really big day of it. And you know what? We did that for a few years and it was so good because I felt like up until that time, this was all pre-COVID, obviously, and I felt that Christmas was losing its magic of what it was about. People just saw it. I saw that people were getting frustrated by it from the lack of, finances, the pressure of money
Yeah.
on them. And instead of like a small little gift, there were these exorbitant gifts. And, oh, quick, I've got to get this in. And we've got Christmas, instead of like, wow, this is Christmas, they
Yeah.
saw it as a chore rather than a celebration.
Yeah.
And, and I could see it was becoming so commercialized, and that was really irritating. I thought, well, you can't let outside influences, get the better of you. It's what you mean. And honestly, that was the first time I had Christmas Day on a completely different day. And I really liked it because we didn't have to share it with everyone. We're on the
Yeah.
barbecue boat doing our wonderful, great thing, and come Christmas Day, I just kept myself organized and, went out for breakfast and did my own thing rather than sort of mope around.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until when it was a little bit older and, the kids moved out of home and they got their own things, I've never ever placed that emphasis on them. Oh, you've got to be here for Christmas,
Yeah.
and, like some people do with all the pressure. It's just like, nah, what are you doing? Okay, do you want to make it another date? Or,
Yeah.
you've got that flexibility and, they've got partners too. And it's no
Yeah.
big deal if they've got, something common with their other families. It's fine. Like we just
Mm.
pick a date.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And you know what? Our Christmas tree one time, the kids will laugh at this because when they were about 10 and 12, the Christmas box, anyway, it was all destroyed and there was no way we could put it back in. And it's all in alphabetical. It's a certain way that you have to put it back in. Anyway, that stayed up until July. And there was a childcare, this lady that used to look after the children opposite the road. It was like a daycare mother from her home. And the mums used to come up and I don't know, obviously I thought I knew one or two of them from the community. And they said, oh yeah, we still see your Christmas tree in the window. And I said, well, it's Christmas in July, isn't it? I get it up all the time because I couldn't put it anywhere. Anyway, a box was made and it was fine. But yeah, that's a laughing joke that we have like Christmas in July. You know what? It doesn't matter when Christmas is. It's what it means to you. And if it means
Yeah.
another date and that's what makes you feel better, that's great. And
Yeah.
these people that, including myself, that have, felt that isolation and that aloneness on Christmas Day, I know the best way I used to just try and do is just try and keep myself busy. And I think last year I worked on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've got, a second job and I just worked. It was just easier because I think I'd already organized something, with Christmas with my own family prior to that. And it was great. It was triple time.
Yeah. Why not? Right? Why not?
Yeah. And so it just kept busy. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really difficult time.
People watching this, right? Do comment below and tell us how you are celebrating your Christmas. Are you feeling the vibes? Maybe that's something that maybe some personal stories you want to share as well about times when Christmas wasn't that great, but you made the best out of it. We'll love to hear your stories.
Oh,
And
definitely. And just, what strategies that they use, because I also know some newly divorced or women in particular, where the children have grown up and they're left in the nest. So not only, I think this will be the first Christmas by themselves,
yeah,
away from that, that disjointed family. And look, I always sort of reflect on the disjointed family, dysfunctional family, that you
yeah,
were talking about before. There'd be no way I would have that for the sake of, a
yeah,
family. Absolutely no way.
yeah,
Anything that you've got, you put into yourself. And I'm so grateful and thankful that I don't have to deal with that anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Because,
yeah,
some people find it hard. They need to, put on a brave face and just be smiles and put up with it. And just, some people it can be a real drag,
yeah.
energetically just to try and, do all the right things, meet the right people, say the right things.
If you are whether you're a single man or single woman, and midlife, and your children have moved out and you don't know what to do with yourself. you know, I would say the best thing you can do is get yourself a nice meal. You don't have to eat out, you don't have to join the crowd. Make yourself a nice meal, eat at home, put on nice music, decorate your table setting the way you like it, the way you've always liked it, but never had it done the way that you wanted it. Do everything that you've always wanted to do, but never got a chance to do because someone else didn't like it, or someone else, whatever it may be, right? Whatever the reason. Now make it for you, right? Make it for
Mm.
you and enjoy it. Like, this is what I'm gonna do this year, right? My family with my parents were celebrating Christmas dinner on the 23rd.
Hmm.
And right after, I do have another Christmas party. So I have two parties that night. But what I'm gonna do for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day is really with myself. I'm reserving those 2 days, just being with myself, and really about, taking time off, doing what I want versus doing what, like just going with what other people want to do.
Hmm.
And that was the default, right, in the past. But now it's like, I've been thinking to myself, okay, what am I going to do? How can I make it really fun for myself? And, I possibly go for long walks, possibly make myself a nice meal, quiet time, read a book, right? And lounge around, read my book. I haven't done that, lounging around, reading a book for a long time. My I'm always on the audio, right? Listening on the go, listening to my books, but I want to physically hold a book and read it and be relaxed about it, and just enjoy it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's a great plan, and when I think you've got a plan in place, it helps with your focus
yeah,
because there's nothing worse feeling down and out,
yeah,
and you can hear all these happy celebrations, and you're just got this knife going,
yeah,
twist it harder because it's so easy to focus on what you don't have.
yeah, yeah,
But to help cope through that, like what you just said, to put a thing in place that it doesn't even have to be anything Christmassy.
exactly.
You could just dedicate that time just to help your coping mechanism,
Yeah,
knowing that it's going to be a tough time, to put a strategy in place rather than sit there and just cop all, everything
yeah,
that comes your way. Because
yeah,
it's funny, the next day nothing has changed, except for the next day you wake up going, oh, okay, that's over.
yeah,
But nothing has changed except for time is passing.
yeah,
So it's, how we reflect, how we react, how we internalize things, what we do, knowing that, you don't want to go down that rabbit hole,
yeah,
something in place to help, to help that. So I know it's easier said than done, but it certainly helps you mentally.
yeah.
And I know with all where I live, there's lots of families around here, and I just go, oh, you know what? Because honestly, it feels like you're a failure sometimes. 'Cause you don't have
Mm,
you don't have your family around, but you think, why does it make me feel like that? And it's
mm,
funny because no one's made you feel that way. Your family
yeah,
members don't make you feel that way. It's just
yeah,
what you take on yourself.
yeah,
And, it's a really hard time of the year to get
mm,
through that period.
yeah.
But it's learning just to put some tools and strategies in place. And I'll be interested to see what our readers, like I said, what they, the tools and strategies they use to help get through because it brings up a lot of things for a lot of people.
I think the environment does really make a difference, because I understand what you're saying when you say that you're surrounded by families, and if you are the only, like you are alone, right? And if you're not celebrating with anyone, the stark contrast can make you feel like, oh, okay, what's going on? What's that feeling inside me? And versus an environment where you're surrounded by just single people living in, like the place that I'm in now, this apartment complex, because they are tiny apartments, right? So most people are living alone, or they have small families. And the good thing about this apartment is this apartment building is that in the lobby area, they try to make it really nice. And so they have a little bit of Christmas decor. So as you come in, right, it's nice to say, oh, this is nice. You don't feel the same pressure, I guess, as living in a place where you're surrounded by families. So, if anyone watching this, if you're feeling like, you are not in a good environment, or you're in an environment that makes you feel even more lonely, then do something different, you know,
Yeah.
do
And I
something
think the
different.
first Christmas that I had, um, I actually organised to go out for breakfast Christmas morning because no one else was around. It was
Oh,
perfect
yeah. Yeah.
because it was, they were all busy, with, the excitement of Christmas in the morning. And so I used to go out, it was at, I think, 7 o'clock was when it opened. And I'd go down, I'd get the prime parking spot because no one's on the road. And it was right opposite the beach. So then I'd make a morning of it. And it was great because by the time everyone has sort of done like I'm talking sort of families, when they've done all the present opening and then they're all, that excitement, there's a lot more people then start to get on the road, just before lunch or mid-morning to go to lunch somewhere. But I was coming home. So, I felt like, okay, I've done my little bit now. And it was really good. And, we kept that tradition going for quite some time.
Mm.
And I've noticed there's a lot more people doing something similar,
Yeah.
and then so some of the restaurants here are open on Christmas Day, and like you can't book for breakfast, so you'd have to first in, first serve, and then all of a sudden you've got 20 people, waiting. One of the other Christmases I'd actually spent, I flew up to Uluru, which was in Northern Territory. So flew there and actually had Christmas Day at Uluru, and then hired a car, and then we drove from Uluru up to Darwin. So we did that over, I had 3 weeks off, so it was no time
Okay.
frame. And this was just before COVID was on, but it hadn't clamped down with all the traveling and
Okay.
such. So it had, as far as planes were turned around and sent back, and there was airport marshals and isolation and all that, but we were still okay to travel where we were. I think someone was just had COVID on the plane, I think, from memory. So anyway, we hired the car, and I tell you what, it was the most amazing trip that we've, ever experienced, because I would never have done it, because it's actually cheaper to fly overseas and have a holiday than what it is in your own backyard here sometimes,
Yeah.
particularly remote areas like that. And so we had Christmas morning on Uluru, and then we drove. The first stop was at Alice Springs. We had Christmas Eve there, and we had, I don't know, some roast dinner at RSL Club, I think it was. And then we just continued the drive, and then we pulled into Darwin on New Year's Eve.
Hmm.
It was amazing. And we saw Tones and I. That we saw them sing.
What's
Tones and
that?
I. Tones and I. It's they had a big song Dance Monkey for
Okay.
quite a few years ago,
Okay.
and they were playing. It was the only spot that had fireworks apparently in Australia. We didn't know that. We just pulled in, and we were staying there. We walked down to the waterfront. Everything was just perfect timing, and we had something to eat. We heard Tones and I play right near us, so we didn't have to pay the money to go in because we could see them where we were. Watched the fireworks and then left.
Ah,
Planned it any better. So,
nice.
so that was really nice. That was a different Christmas morning because that was all through the COVID time. So you're kind of looking at different ways of, trying to make things a little bit different to still make it pleasurable. And I think that's where, you know, this comes in handy too, knowing that it can be, a real hardship for a lot of people, but put plans in place just to
Hmm.
help through it. So I can
Yeah.
understand why people drink on the day just to get through it and just be oblivious of everything.
And they might drink for a week going into
Yeah,
the new year as well.
yeah, yeah,
They
definitely.
just, it's like the last week of the year, a lot of people are not sober at all. Like every single night is something to numb,
Yeah,
numb the emotions and numb the feelings and numb the loneliness. Um, I mean, I totally get it as to why, there's a need. But maybe this year, for those people who have a tendency to do that, uh, maybe try something different, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, do something different, do something more empowering, do something that will really kickstart 2025 on an entirely different note and, have a better year ahead. Do you have any plans, Alina? What are you looking forward to in 2025?
Well, it's feel alive in 25 for me, because we've had so many interruptions. Like, our readers will know by
Hmm.
now, my partner's got cancer and we've been going through all that. So I've had a lot of interruptions, through
Yeah,
while I released my book the day after he was diagnosed with cancer. It's just been, a journey and a half this whole year of
yeah,
just trying to get through each moment at that time and not to put too much
yeah,
expectation. So he's going really good now. We're looking with, like, I don't know, we're not looking, it's more of we're making a choice to, look through different eyes rather than a coping mechanism. So
yeah.
this year we've had to go through treatment, we've got through a whole heap of stuff. This next year coming on, we're just looking from a differently perspective. So I see it as just more we've gone through the worst bit now, and it's about enjoyment.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not putting that whole expectation on yourself and have
Yeah,
that disappointment. It's just, yeah, I think feel alive in 25 is a really good, or be alive in 25 or whatever it
yeah,
is. Yeah, just
yeah,
to, I don't know, just it's not so much live life because I hate that cliche, and I hate the cliche, don't sweat the small stuff. But
yeah,
it really is just helps when you've gone through cancer and things like that,
yeah,
or any illness and things like that.
yeah,
It really does open your eyes to the small things are really insignificant.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, and don't be afraid to do the things that you want to do. Go and do it. Don't
Yeah,
hold back because you might not get that chance again.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
what's your plans for 25?
My plans is interestingly, I mean, while a lot of people are going to, at midlife, a lot of people are going to wind down their work. I feel my work is just going to get busier. Not
Yes,
winding
definitely.
down. It's just picking up now. Like it's gaining momentum, and I think it's just going to be because there's so much I want to do, right? Doing the courses and finishing books and writing and getting all the stuff out. So I feel it's going to be a busy year. And now there were, a lot of hiccups in end of 2023 and 2024, right, with the care of my mom, my parents. So it's been quite, now we are kind of on cruise mode, in terms of, caring for them. And then my father is turning 90 this month. And
Wow.
so, yeah. And so, on cruise mode, so that's fine. I can, kind of relax in that area and not be too concerned or too worried about it. I just then I can focus on my energies in doing what I want to do, which is, my books and causes. And so I do see a busier 2025 work-wise. And I'm really looking forward to it, really. Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, you've put so much work into behind the scenes and getting all your courses. You've got ebooks, you've got courses now.
Yeah.
You're writing your own book at the moment,
Yeah.
another one there. And, plus, with all the podcasts and doing your own, work generally, there's a lot going on. And I think when you lay a strong foundation, you can only reap the rewards from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
That
looking
sounds
forward.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. And certainly looking forward to, more of our podcasts, more exciting topics that we will cover. So let us know what kind of topics you'd like us to discuss or talk about. In our future episodes, we definitely have more guests coming in, and we've had, really quite good guests. And so all these episodes, all these recordings will be out in the new year. So there'll be more. And yeah, let us know.
And definitely, if anyone's interested in coming on as a guest,
Oh, yeah.
to contact us.
Yeah. Yeah. You're most welcome. Write into us and let us know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Because like we'll always talk about, lots of different things. And it's good to have, another person that will come in and share their different, perspective as
for
well,
sure.
because you can never learn enough. You can never know enough. And the more that you
Yeah,
know, the rest you realize, or the more that you learn, the rest you realize you don't know, you know.
yeah, for sure,
Um, and
for sure.
I've had a lot of, and I'm sure you have too, Shamala, like I've had a lot of good feedback, just random feedback saying, loving your podcast. They're just so relatable.
Yeah,
And, particularly on certain different subjects, because they felt like they were being talked like to them themselves. And
yeah,
particularly there was one about cancer. And there was some people that reached out to me with that, with their own personal situation, which
yeah,
just by sharing our own experiences and,
yeah.
how that really opens the doors for other people to feel like, that they're supported as well, that they're not alone.
Mm,
And,
yeah,
same as with that whole Christmas thing, we'll share our experiences and, and our thoughts. But
yeah,
then, it's not until someone will come forward and then starts to share theirs. And
yeah.
yeah, that's really rewarding when you feel like you've helped someone
Yes, yeah.
and
And it
that you
really doesn't
relate.
matter how many people, as long as one person, one person, listen to the content and, felt like it made a difference. I think we are really happy and grateful for that. Yeah.
I've always been enticed by, okay, it's good to know people have problems, but what do they do to help with the
Yeah.
solution?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
You
I mean, we
know,
can, yeah, we definitely can share about, what went wrong, but we also need to share then what made it right.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it also help you move on, move forward with it at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. For
So
sure.
yeah, that's been really good feedback.
So, any parting words for this Christmas episode, Alina?
Oh, okay. So parting words is that, with Christmas, it's to focus on what's important for you rather than what you have lost or don't have.
Yeah,
Because nothing has changed except your perception, and the way
yeah,
you perceive something determines your reaction.
yeah,
So, knowing that it's coming up, what can you do to put plans in place so it doesn't bring you down any further
yeah,
and go down that rabbit hole where we all know
yeah,
where that leads? Eventually, we have to come out.
yeah,
So, we don't really need to go down it in the first place. It doesn't achieve anything, it just
yeah,
makes you feel worse. So, to try and catch it before it even starts and, start to make some plans and
yeah.
yeah, reach out to someone.
I'm gonna share what I'm gonna do on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and maybe hopefully some of you will do the same. To write a list, 25 things that you're grateful for,
Yeah.
and especially if you are not feeling good during this season, um, do the 25 things you're grateful for. I think that will shift your entire energy, as to how you want to celebrate life in
Yeah,
general.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I look at Christmas, it's only one day. So, it's the emphasis, it's the meaning we give it.
Yeah.
And, it's rather than, like I said, struggle and get through,
Mm.
do something, really proactive that's going to make you smile. And exactly what you just said, I think it's great because you're shifting your perception away, your focus away from there's no point going down that doom and gloom path. It's not going to serve
Yeah.
anything. Okay,
Yeah.
as in like for yourself, what
Yeah.
can I do that's going to make me better? And it could be watching a whole heap of movies. It could be
Yeah.
a week
Why
on the
not?
beach. Yeah, you
Why
know,
not?
and write the 25 grateful things.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So shall we say goodbye?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
So
Merry Christmas, everybody, from
yeah.
Alina in Noosa, Queensland, Australia.
Merry Christmas, everyone. This is Shamla from Singapore signing out.
See
Bye.
you. Happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Thank you.
How old will you be this birthday?
How old? I'll be 56.
56. Yeah. 56
Yeah.
is a good number.